is James O'Brien. We are talking about worst things that can happen at funerals. Sorry, but it just still makes me laugh. They hadn't dug the grave at a funeral in County Durham last week. And language barriers, when your language abilities take other people by surprise with embarrassing consequences. And I'd like to talk about Sylvester Stallone's claim that abstaining from sexual shenanigans, from all conjugal activity, improves his acting skills. I tell you what, he must have been at it like a rabbit when he made Judge Dredd, wasn't he? But now he claims that the reason why Rocky Balboa is such a good film, a questionable claim, to be honest, but one with which I will, for the moment, agree, is because he hasn't been doing it while he was making it. He says at 60, can you do a Rocky Balboa impression? He's like, absolutely, Adrian. At 60, you don't have as much energy as you did back when you were 30. So you have to conserve every bit you can. He says, giving up sex isn't really that hard to do. It is if you're Mozart the Iguana, mate. Giving up sex isn't really that hard to do, and it's well known that it can improve your performance in sports or on a movie. I don't think it's that well known that going without sex can improve your performance in a movie. In fact, I would claim, Sly, not wanting to obviously fall out with you or anything, but I would claim that in fact you're the first person ever to make this statement, that going without sex can improve your performance in a movie. I would like to hear from you, though, I mean you now, not Sylvester Stallone, you, if you abstain from sexual shenanigans for reasons of performance, if you see what I mean. So, if, for example, you were a radio presenter, do you tell your wife regularly in the mornings that you are not prepared to address her marital needs, because on the rare occasions when you have done that before doing your mid-morning radio phone-in show, you have noticed a distinct downturn in energy levels and mental sharpness? Just random examples that I'm coming up with. Do you believe that abstaining from sex makes you better at something else? 0870 9090 973. I really want to hear from you on this. Don't be shy. We can disguise your identity if you're worried about your colleagues finding out. What is the job, or what is the task? What is the thing you have to do? And do you really believe that it is improved by abstaining from sex? I'm laughing because Michelle in Wapping is next up, and the producer sometimes writes a few words to describe what the call is concerning, and this one's just given me the giggles. So, Michelle, what's the worst thing that can happen at a funeral?
Hello, James. Good show, by the way.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, my very good friend at school sadly lost her grandmother, and they went to obviously bury her. They turned up at the church outside to obviously go into the graveyard to bury her grandmother. And there were two dogs obviously mounted, one on top of each other, and the vicar was most very embarrassed about it all. Apparently it happens quite a bit outside the church, and he had to throw a bucket of water over
that happens quite a bit outside this particular church?
Yes.
With the same dog?
And put it away. I'm not sure it was the same dogs, but it may have been one and another, I'm not sure.
Like devil-worshipping dogs. This is where the phrase dogging comes from. So what did the vicar do?
He had to go and get a bucket of water, obviously...
in the middle of a funeral service?
Yeah, I mean, my friend came to school on the Monday, and it was her closest grandmother, and she had a bit of a grin on her face, and her mum and dad used to always have a good laugh with them, and she had this little smirk. I said, oh no, what happened? She said, well, you're never going to guess. Certainly my grandmother was looking down on us with a big grin, going, well, gotcha, I had the last laugh,
Oh, no.
So, absolutely. So,
yes.
Trick did it with a bucket of water, and
yes.
went to bury her grandmother.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm glad you're listening today. It's coming up to 11:09. I've mentioned to you in the past that the producer's job is very easy. Do you know what he's just written on my screen now? He's written on my screen, other stories of shagging animals disrupting human activity, ? That's what he does all day. He writes things. It's just ridiculous. Go on then. If you've got a story about copulating animals disrupting a human event, I want to hear from you. If you can add to the list of the worst thing that can happen at a funeral, I want to hear from you. 0870 9090 973. And we're trying to get hold of Declan Purcell, the motorbike dealer who brought in the bailiffs to reclaim his debt from the Royal Bank of Scotland after going to the county court to prove that they owed him £3,400 in bank charges. Regular listeners will know that is a perfectly achievable sum if you go through the motions of reclaiming unfair bank charges. We've had listeners who've done considerably bigger sums than that, but no one, to the best of our knowledge, has thus far employed the bailiffs to secure the cash that they're owed. So if you know him, he's a motorbike dealer. That's all I can find out about him. Give him a ring, will you? Or give us a ring. Tell us how we can get hold of him. Give him a ring. Tell him to get in touch with us. We'd love just to shake him by the hand, figuratively speaking, shake him by the radio hand, and thank him for giving us a big smile. Because at the moment when the bailiff started lifting up the computers in the Camden branch of the Royal Bank of Scotland, I would have paid to see. Were you there? 0870 9090 973. Or rather, have you ever secured a similar result? Have you ever given a bloody nose to a much bigger opponent, like a bank, or a corporation, or a council, or a government department, or a massive company? Have you ever given a bloody nose to Goliath? 0870 9090 973. Gary's in Dartford. What's the worst thing that can happen at a funeral, Gary?
Right, I'm an ex-grave digger. I've stopped it now for a couple of years. I started another job, and I was in Medway Cemetery, and we had a funeral come in, and so we all gathered around the grave. They was all from the care home. It was a little old lady who was getting buried. Anyway, it wasn't a particularly heavy coffin, but I had to stand at the grave, and they put them on puttocks. That's what the things that you slide the coffin onto.
Puttocks?
Yeah, they're like little wooden sticks.
Oh, okay.
And you take them out when you lower the coffin down.
Yeah.
So they put the ropes around and everything like that, and they're just about to slide the coffin over. And the funeral, the undertaker, he bent down to slide it over, and he farted. And we was all standing around the grave, and they was all looking at me, and I started to look at them, and everyone was looking at each other thinking, well, I never did it. And I can't get it out. The undertaker went bright red, but he sort of walked away, backwards out of the way. But everyone was looking at each other, all the people from the care home, the nurses and everybody. And I thought, and I'm trying to look around, but
was it?
See, the trouble is, it cannoned on after that. They had another funeral in after that, and this bloke come over, and he found these old coins that was, on top of the grave that we put in another one. And he was so happy about it, and he thanked us. And he was crying, but we was crying from the funeral had just gone out. Do you know what I mean? And
how did you know it was the funeral? You just knew it was, but no one else had clocked him.
Well, I heard him. He sounded like a horse when he did it. Do you know what I mean? It was so bad.
But how did you know it was him?
It was him. He went red. He coloured right up.
Oh, mate, that is shocking, isn't it? I didn't know they were called puttocks. That somehow adds to the quality of your story, Gary.
Well, I've got one more.
Go on.
A quick one.
Yeah.
The guy told me who worked for one of the outfits.
Yeah.
He said they was carrying a coffin, and he had a musical watch, and they was going into the chapel, and it went off the Yellow Rose of Texas, and he couldn't turn it off.
Because he couldn't take his hand off the coffin.
Coffin, you got it, yeah. So he went down there with the Yellow Rose of Texas going.
On a little tiny electronic digital watch.
Yeah.
What's the tune? What's the tune of the yellow? Can you... As he's walking up the aisle with a coffin on his shoulder. Oh, mate. Well, I knew we'd get some funny stories. Rebecca is in Aylesbury. Rebecca?
Yep, I'm here.
Top that.
Oh, well, I don't know whether it's the funniest, but it's certainly the worst that's ever happened at a funeral that I know of.
Oh, no. Go on.
My father's uncle was due to be cremated. The service went without a hitch, no problem, only to be told later that they'd done the wrong body. It wasn't my great uncle at all. It was somebody totally unrelated.
How oh no.
I know. It wasn't the worst thing for our family, because we later found out that my great uncle had been buried, thankfully, although he didn't want to be, so he had to be dug up and cremated. But there was nothing to be done for the poor family.
So the other family, he wanted to be buried?
Yeah, and he got cremated.
Holy why on earth did they own up?
I don't know. I don't know.
Why on earth would they come clean on that? You just go, right, don't mention
tell anyone.
the corpses.
It's like, don't mention the war.
Exactly. Oh, Rebecca. Oh, you
But,
just...
this was about 20 years ago, and there was quite a serious payout, I think.
I bet but well, I don't know why. There was no evidence. It's 11:15.
Thank you for downloading this podcast from London's LBC 97.3. From just £2 a month, you can hear the entire show uninterrupted, as well as a whole archive and stuff you just won't hear on the radio.